joining us now, the co-author of Rediscovering God in America, Reflections on the Role of Faith in Our Nation's History and Future. Former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. He said he really went, you're smiling, he really went hard after Hillary. She's not presidential. Low energy, which was interesting. That she was asleep when the ambassador was killed, and she lied about it. Bad judgment, broke federal law. Anybody else would be in jail. A disgrace to the laws of this country, and then went forward with his agenda about building the wall, creating jobs, etc. This is seemingly now a pivot, a big change in terms of now he's going after Hillary as he promised. How effective will that be?
Oh, I think it'll be very effective. Look, I think if you really dislike Trump, none of this has any impact on you. But for people in general, there's a rhythm there, there's a pattern. You got a guy who's very self-confident. He has an opponent who is really unable to really do the job of being a candidate for president. So the gap between the two of them, I think, will get bigger and bigger. He is funny, and it's totally unique. I mean, there is no model here. It's not Ronald Reagan. It's not Richard Nixon. It's not Barack Obama. It's not Bill Clinton. It is a Donald Trump unique, extraordinary experience. And you have to relax and take it for that kind of a unique experience. Well,
I'm going to get to the issue of what his agenda is and how effective he'll be and the promises he's making and running on, which I think are still very conservative. I know you always say nationalist populist, but I want to go over that with you in a minute. He's been taking on the media in a pretty profound way. Back in 2007 and 8, I said, journalism in America is dead. I remember you were in one debate and you said that's a Mickey Mouse question, for example. And, you know, it seems that people are getting it. We've got Telemundo that is now has their camera guys choreographing news caught on tape. We've got the New York Times debunked story about Trump and women, but they don't interview Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, and Paula Jones. Then you got Katie Couric inserting 8 seconds of dead air and including dramatic music to create something that didn't happen. So it seems like when he says the media is scum and liars, that's resonating because most people don't trust them.
Yeah, look, I know lots of reporters, as you do. Most of them as individuals are decent human beings, but almost all of them are on the left. I think sometimes that Trump overreaches when he doesn't need to. All he's really got to say is, look, these folks are our opponents. These reporters are on the other team. This is like having a bunch of referees in the ball game who are on the side of the other guys, you know, who go in and actually block, tackle, and carry the ball. I think he can do it without some of the nastiness. Because the truth is,
I don't think it's nasty, but if they're writing things about, if the New York Times writes a story that you abused women, and all the women in the story come out and they defend you and say that the New York Times purposely manipulated your words, I don't think I think they deserve what they get.
Look, first of all, that's not most of the reporters of the New York Times, many of whom I know personally. That's Pinch Sulzberger, the guy who's the head of the Times. And what Trump ought to do is say, if anybody had any integrity at all, they'd fire him. First of all, he's a bad businessman. He's done a series of terrible deals. He is gradually destroying the New York Times. And he is a hardline left-wing nutcake. And they just ought to go straight at him. But I know many people, and you're the same way, Sean. Look, we both know really honest, really decent people who are in a larger world. Now, do I think that the larger world's biased against Trump? Yeah, overwhelmingly. Do I think it's a pretty clever tactic to take him head on? I proved that in 2011 and 12 when I did it. I mean, the country will side with the candidate against the media almost every time because they offer you such a huge, gigantic, stupid target. This latest thing about Trump's donations to veterans, which turns out to be almost $6 million, versus the Clintons, which is about $75,000, is so pathetic and grotesque. The news media just can't stop and say, you know, he's a pretty good guy who did a pretty good thing for people who we really admire. No, they get involved in this baloney, and then they treat Hillary as though she's a real person and a serious person. She's saying, oh, the news media pressured him into doing it. She hasn't had a press conference in, I think, 180 days.
But isn't it amazing? I mean, it's almost a phenomenon. Between Telemundo, Katie Couric, and the other examples that I'm bringing, the New York Times debunks story, and then their choice of stories, they don't look into the Clinton enabling question of women and the smearing and slandering and besmirching. But now everything seems to backfire. He gave $6 million. Hillary gave $70,000, or the Clinton Foundation. You have the judge presiding over the Trump University case is a member of La Raza, a group of lawyers, the race, as you know. And then we find out that the judge, that the law firm Robbins Geller, appointed by the judge in that case to represent the plaintiff in the Trump University case, has another connection beyond donating $2,700 to Hillary Clinton. It seems that Robert Geller paid the Clintons nearly $500,000 for 2 speeches. Everything seems to boomerang back. I've never seen it like this before. It's hilarious.
Well, but no, but there's a reason. Donald Trump is the first genuine outsider in my lifetime to take on the entire national establishment in both the Republican and Democratic parties. And what's beginning to be obvious is it is a huge establishment. And by the way, it's a corrupt establishment, and it's an establishment which pays off each other, and it's an establishment which has all sorts of anti-deals. And so what's beginning to come out is these guys are really sick.
It's true.
And Trump is really different.
And
That's
Trump is exposing them.
Well, and part of it's not just Trump, but part of it is that when you get into these kind of fights, any reasonable, honest person says, well, give me the details, and you suddenly look and go, what? I mean, and over again, you find that Hillary is at the center of a cesspool of corruption which runs from the Clinton Foundation to the State Department to the campaign machine in a way that, frankly, in the tradition of the Founding Fathers, is sickening. It is everything we had an American Revolution to get rid of.
You know, there was a Rasmussen poll out today that 71% of Democrats, even if she's indicted, still think she should continue running. And Trump, on the honesty question, beats her 2-1, and consistently 65+% of Americans think she is a liar, dishonest, and untrustworthy. How could such a person win like that with those numbers?
Look, this is a remarkable test of where we are as a country right now. Charles Murray at the American Enterprise Institute wrote an extraordinary book a year ago called Coming Apart. And it's really about what's happened to American culture in the last 30 or 40 years. This is a great test of who we are as a people. Are we now so used to corruption, so used to dishonesty, so used to all the different things that go on, that none of it matters anymore? This is Baltimore. You know, the last Republican city councilman in Baltimore was 1942. And yet, you know, local politicians will blame Republicans even though they've been in charge for 74 years.
You're right.
Look at Southside Chicago.
If we go 4 more years of Obama, which Hillary represents, we'll get the government we deserve, and it's not going to be good. All right, we got to take a break. But go ahead, final thought.
Hillary is Obama plus corruption.
Wow, that's a good line. I wish I thought of it. Can I steal that?